Everyone, this is Debbie Neiman with Hope Trust. We're going to go ahead and get started. Um, so the thing that we do here at Hope Trust at the core of our business is our technology and our platform to get all professionals, all family members, anyone involved in the support of a loved one with disabilities on the same platform. And from there, we're able to offer services that tend to fall between the different professionals and disciplines that help support a loved one with disabilities. So we'll talk a little bit more about that today. For those of you that don't know, there's a large proportion of people with disabilities in this country. It's the largest minority group out there, and so, but it's often underserved or not served at all. And so making sure that we are serving this group is beneficial, obviously, for them, but also for the professionals to provide that business. Okay, so the current landscape, again, when we're doing special needs planning, especially if we're doing it well, there are several different experts that need to be involved. Unfortunately, many families don't know, and neither do the professionals that they're working with. You get the estate planning attorney who's drafting the special needs trust, but then never asks, well, what's the funding plan? And is it enough? The CPA is trying to help reduce taxes, but again, what is being utilized to fund the special needs trust instead of just today, but when mom and dad are no longer here, whoever those family members are. The financial advisor is trying to create a funding plan, but how much is needed over the lifetime of the individual? And then what financial analytical tool are they utilizing that also incorporates government benefits? On the note of government benefits, then you have a government benefits expert. Is everything being maximized that can be utilized, or has everything been applied for this individual to reduce what out of pocket they're going to have to come up with? But in order to assess what they qualify for, oftentimes you need the clinical team involved so that and educators, if we're talking about somebody younger, to determine, what are their deficiencies or where are those gaps, where are their strengths and their weaknesses, what kind of supports do they need, what other resources would be available. And then finally, once whoever those grantors are gone, who's the trustee on the special needs trust? So often families are choosing another family member who they trust and who is invested in the individual with disabilities, but that person often isn't an expert on special needs trusts and innocently making mistakes, and then finding out what kind of a consuming time it involves to be the trustee on a special needs trust. And then don't forget, of course, there's the families who provide the coordination of all this care, including some or all of the caregiving, around the clock demands and needs, oversight and checking to make sure everything and everyone is doing what they should be and that things are working out. Many families, you'll hear them say, generally speaking, there's about 4 questions that we hear the most, and it's who's going to fill my shoes when I'm no longer here? How will that person or people know and understand everything they need to about my loved one when I'm no longer here? How much is this going to cost? Do we have enough? And if not, how much more do we need? And then where do we start so that we can start simplifying and lessen some of this responsibility on us as well as our successors? And that's really where Hope Trust comes in. So we try to bring, like I mentioned before, the entire village of supporters all on the same platform. With tools to collaborate, working from the same information, also to get everything aggregated and organized for the individuals with disabilities. So in addition to that, we have an interdisciplinary team to help support, coordinate critical services, whether it's professional, whether it's getting those groceries, whether it's arranging transportation, following up with any kind of medical, any of those kinds of things. We have an interdisciplinary team of clinicians, psychologists, therapists, nurses, and social workers to help with that aspect of it. In order for us and for the special needs trustee or other family members or whoever that succession village is. We have a life care planning tool that has over 6,000 questions. Nobody answers all 6,000 questions, but it's a database of smart linked questions to gather all of the information that would be needed to understand, know, and be able to fully support the individual. As you know, many times these families, mom and dad oftentimes are the ones who are caring for, or a sibling. After a lifetime of supporting this person, they've gathered tricks and tips and know all the different nuggets of information as well as the nuances. And so where is that usually stored? So often families, it's in their brain. And if that person's not there anymore, all of that information that took them a lifetime of gathering to figure out is gone with them. And so this really pulls all of that information, not just the stuff that they would think if you ask them, but really gets into the nitty gritty, all the stuff they would think that is just second nature or inherent. We also have a tool that allows on our platform for an individual to draft a special needs trust. Our special needs trust documents have been reviewed by leaders of the Special Needs Alliance. So it helps simplify that process, and it's a lot more cost efficient for individuals. They do still need to take it to local council for review and execution, but it gives them a very nice thing. It also allows them to name who that investment advisor may be upon when that special needs trust gets funded. Quantifying the funding need. This is another piece. How do we come up with this? How many times have you sat down with the family and said, well, is it enough? You know, do you know if that's how much it's going to cost? And they're like, I don't know. I feel like it is. You know, I got this, you know, this life insurance policy. I think it's enough. I have a special needs child. I can tell you that that is not very comforting to think or feel that I have enough. I want to know. And so we have a tool that allows families to run those numbers with their advisors, build out that budget, a dynamic budget. You know, what it costs today when mom and dad are still here, or those family members are still here, is very different than what it will look like when they aren't. So helping individuals be able to build a lifetime budget that changes and evolves over the time or lifespan of that individual, especially when we're talking about disabilities, where there may be some progression or some characteristics that are common with whatever disability they have. You know, off the top of my head, I think about individuals with Down syndrome. Yeah, they may have a shorter life expectancy. However, they have a higher incidence of early onset dementia, and you may be paying for memory care for 5 to 10 years. Well, that's a big ticket item you probably want to consider. So it's those kinds of things that we want to make sure. In addition to that, we all know that there's not, you know, a financial advising tool out there or analytical tool that allows you to actually incorporate government benefits as well. So our tool does allow that. We have special needs. We do, trustee services. And so we're able to help protect those assets as well as work with the advisor that families have chosen. We do not manage the investment. So we keep that with the advisor that's already been working on this story, if you will, with the family. And so, but we take care of the distributions, the record keeping, the filing of the taxes, all of those kinds of things. And then, like I said before, we have an interdisciplinary team of not just clinicians, but also bankers, trust officers, and legal counsel. All of our services are a la carte. So we understand that each family and individual have very unique needs, and those needs may evolve over time. And so many times clients start with us in getting all of that information aggregated. That's our plan. They get on our technology, they get all the professionals involved, they get all the family, those circle of support, those close family friends, all in the same place, and get all that information organized and aggregated. Then from there, we have our navigate services. That's concierge services. So, you know, whether it's whoever the primary caregivers are needing to lighten the load, or it's time for them to hand the reins over, we can handle that. Whether, again, it's planning trips, whether it's planning transportation, whether it's coordinating medical care, whether it's making sure that groceries get delivered, or upkeep of where they're living, any of those kinds of things we can help with. And then once that trust is funded, we have our managed services, which includes the concierge as well as trustee services. We want to make sure that, when it comes to special needs trust, we do know that many places do not do a great job administering them. Many places are not administering them at all anymore because of the high liability. And this is just not a role that, generally speaking, the average person knows much about. And so that's where having a family member do it on the side when they have their own families and their own careers and everything else, things can get messed up quite a bit. So we always are here to offer as a trustee services for clients. So the Hope Care Plan is really, really detailed and intense. The reason for this, and another reason that this is at the core of our business, is not just to provide those concierge services, but when we get to the point of being trustee, so that we can ensure and we have proof that we make sure this trust does what it's supposed to for this individual. So many times, you get the trust and you have the funding, then nobody knows the individual with disabilities. And oftentimes that person cannot communicate the different things that they need or want or tick, what makes them go and what gives them meaning in life. And so this really allows us not just to help support them and foster as much independence and maximize their potential, but also to ensure that that trust is being utilized to give the meaning and the life that was intended for this individual. Also, on our platform, we have a financial tool. It allows an individual to enter the different kinds of assets that are going to be utilized to fund this special needs trust. Whether it is, in my situation, I have 3 children, so I would plug in my assets, let's say my home. I still have a mortgage on my house, so I have that. I can enter in the debt on it as well and say, okay, 1/3 of it's going to go into this special needs trust, the proceeds of that house with the current market value. You can put in the different assets, life insurance, whatever that may be, and then plug in if there's going to be any kind of income, as well as government benefits, both now or in the future. You can run every kind of different scenario you want to stress test it. And then it also has a budget building tool, again, a dynamic budget. So just because you're putting in, well, right now, it costs XYZ for this individual when they're 20 or when they're 30 or when they're 50, we're expecting these expenses. So it helps you really budget that, including the replacement costs of what a family member may be providing right now for free. It runs a Monte Carlo on the backside and then comes out with what we see here, which is the output. The output basically says, here's how much it's going to cost over the lifetime of the individual. And we break it out with and without government benefits. Not that government benefits are all going away, but eligibility can change and what they offer may not look anything like they do today in 20, 30 years from now. So we want to make sure families see the full range here. Then we plug in what mom and dad or whoever is funding this thing, what the assets are expected to be available. And then if there is a gap, that's identified and quantified. And that way families can go back with their financial advisors and come up with a plan of how to address that gap. So let me switch screens here for a minute and bring up the dashboard so that you can see what our platform looks like. So this would be what it looks like when you log in. Depending on the individual, each user can have different permissions. This allows so that you can have everybody on the same platform, but they're only seeing what they need to. You may have the financial advisor, obviously can see everything, or at least the financial part of it, but maybe they don't need to see the medical part, but you probably want the clinicians, or a family would want their clinicians to see the healthcare piece of it. But maybe not the financials or that group home coordinator or whatever that may be. So we get everybody on the same page and then just grant them access to the different aspects or pieces of the portals that they need to see. At the top here, you can see it has just a snapshot of what current assets, income and government benefits, the budget, and then what that funding looks like. Here is where we gather all the information for the life care plan. We have all these different surveys that have the SmartLink questions. We have it broken up by category. It gets down into everything from social, emotional, medical, family history, all of it. And it's not just kind of that high level of what you would have, let's say, in a history and physical when you meet with a physician. It talks about everything. If this person, you know, what are good gift ideas? What are their favorite foods? What makes this person tick? Do they have a history with the law? Do they have any drug and addiction problems? Do they need support using the bathroom or any of their activities of daily living? And not just stopping there, but how much? Do they need verbal prompts? Do they need somebody to actually do it for them? It gets down all the way down into the nitty gritty. If this person's going to travel, how do they travel? Do they need to have special whatever it may be? It gets every little bit of information that many people would forget to even think about because it's second nature to them. But this gets it there, and then gathers all of that information. And then, as you can see here with this button, you click the button and it'll come up. And then you have a book of whoever this is about. My daughter's name's Cecilia, so I say, hey, here's the book of Cecilia. But it has every bit of information, but it gathers all after gathering all those, answering those questions, it puts it into plain language to read and broken out by categories so that everything is very clear. Now, we understand that for some people, again, depending on who it is, maybe they don't need to see all the medical stuff, or maybe they don't need to see all the financial stuff. So we have it broken out that you can do it just the health piece of it, the medical stuff, or just the financial part as well. We have here where all the users can be listed on that front dashboard page. When you enter a new user, you can indicate whether they're an emergency contact, if they should be one of the first people called, second people called, or just fall into the list. But in every section that we have a list of information, whether it's medications, whether it's the schedule, whether it is emergency contacts or anything, we have an export button. So you literally, anytime you make a change or you need to provide a list, whether it's emailing it, downloading it, printing it, whatever, you just click the export button, and again, immediately, hold on, it's going to take a minute. It'll probably go on my others. Here we go. Sorry, I have two screens going and I'm still figuring out how to do this on Zoom. But again, it has an immediate list that's popped up, and you can see who's the emergency contacts and who needs to be contacted first. So again, keeping it very simple, trying to make things as easy as possible, but get everything in one organized, aggregated place. You can put in providers, again, whether they are physicians, therapists, or let's say somebody lives in a rental property that is owned by the trust. You know, who is the handyman you usually use? Who are the cleaning people? We'll have all that information here. And again, if we are acting as trustee, then we're able to utilize those trusted providers that the family has already established relationships with, if they have those in place. We can keep current medications, any of those kinds of things, all of this. And then finally, a document vault. For my daughter's platform, I have everything from, she's still in school, so we have her most current IEP there. I have her social security card and her birth certificate. I have my estate plan is in there, so that if I drop dead tomorrow, all of this stuff is readily available. And you know, her guardian and her dad also have the information right at their fingertips. It allows for since our app is also mobile, again, if I'm sitting in a doctor's appointment with my daughter and we're making changes to medications, I have the app open on my phone. I'm making the change right there so that I don't have to try and remember when I get home. You know, in most families, whether they're divorced or not, it's kind of a divide and conquer so many times. And so one person kind of has to take the reins and really be at the head or the helm of the care of this person. But if that person's gone tomorrow, where is all this information stored? I can tell you, my daughter's very medically complex with her disabilities. And so many times we've had to call an ambulance. And as I'm in the ambulance with my daughter going down to the hospital, I'm texting neighbors or her dad and saying, like, look, we just made med changes. Can you go grab those bottles out of that cabinet so that I have them? This takes this away. I now have everything available at any given time. And same when my daughter's with her dad. So it just makes things a little bit easier and smoother. Okay, let me go back to, oops, sorry. Go back to our presentation here. Also, one thing I want to bring up in those surveys, for those that are advisors, a lot of times if you ask a family, tell me about your child, sometimes they're not always, I don't want to say, it's hard to understand because mom and dad or whoever these loved ones are usually saying all the positive things about this individual, but to get a true picture of just how much support they need, if you go to the surveys that talks about their ADLs and their IADLs, that'll tell you real quick just how much support they're going to need, what kind of housing options they may need, those kinds of things. So it can really help with creating that budget. Another thing that's nice about this is that it helps with multi-generational planning. With our platform, mom and dad kick it. Special Needs Trust is funded, oftentimes another family member is involved in some way, shape, or form, or several. We've seen before where, they come in and say, okay, well, that was mom and dad's advisors. We don't need them anymore. We're going to use our own. This makes sure that the family keeps the business with you because you are seen as the kind of the quarterback of the team. All that technology is being utilized. You have all the information, all the contacts, all of that. It really helps with that planning around. You're named as in the trust as the investment advisor, so it really helps with that multi-generational planning. And again, in addition to keeping the business, it also helps with acquiring business. Again, when you can offer a solution and there is not anything else out there, when a family turns to you and says, but who's going to make sure that Junior's taken care of? You now have an answer with Hope Trust. How are they going to know all this information? Well, now you have a platform to offer. How do we figure out trustee, that's somebody that's a good trustee, and how would they know who my loved one is and make sure that they're getting taken care of? Hope Trust is your answer for that, and all of that flows through you so that you keep that business and acquire new. We do have a training for individuals that, especially advisors, that in many states you can get CE credit for it, but basically it kind of gives you the overview of special needs planning. We get down into case reviews, we discuss different products of funding sources, we go over government benefits, we talk about different aspects of special needs planning that is often forgotten. Again, since it's an interdisciplinary need for planning, it seems like each expert knows their own thing, as they should, but oftentimes don't understand the other aspects. We want to make sure that those professionals that are working with us and the families that have that training. Again, our services include trustee, concierge, and we offer that plan for life care planning. Well, thank you for your time today. We would love to see how we can support your clients and your prospects in this market. Like I said, we have technology at our core. We provide trustee services and case management. In addition to that, we have add-on services on our platform that include government benefit analysis. We have accessibility assessments, educational support, all those things that your clients ask for, but that may not fall under your realm. We are happy to help with that. So please let us know how we can be of service to support you and your practice, as well as these clients in this space. Are there any questions? Go ahead and you can put them in chat or Q&A. Sorry, I'm looking at two screens here to see if there's any questions related to what I just covered. I don't see any questions. If you do have any questions, my contact information is here. Please feel free to reach out. We'd love to see how we can support you and your clients. Everyone have a great day.